Know this about sleeping difficulties. I've been a clinical psychologist for 8 years, and this is what I know. In this video, I want to talk about another cause for not being able to fall asleep. There can be many reasons for not being able to fall asleep. One of them are the faulty belief that humans are always able to sleep. Sound off? Let me explain. If we believe that something is not normal, we'll tend to fear it and react to it with added attention and analysis. We'll attend to it as a problem. If we're convinced that having a sleepless night is not normal, then we'll likely treat it as a problem that we need to fix. This can cause multiple complications, both short-term and long-term. This faulty belief can make us stressed out and associate falling asleep with a threat situation. Thinking it's normal to always be able to sleep and never skip a night's sleep is a popular misconception. And thinking this makes us fearful and often panic when experiencing something we deem to be not normal. Because for many, this will make them think that they're broken or that there's something wrong with them and cause them to stress. And guess what happens to your ability to sleep and general well-being when we're stressing and panicking? I often see clients who are experiencing difficulty sleeping, and one of the reasons can be this faulty belief. With them, I'll start with taking a look at the question whether it's normal to always be able to sleep and never skip a night of sleep. I'll start with looking into the question of if having a sleepless night or two in a month is normal or not normal. I'll ask, what if we asked the GP if it's normal to sometimes have a night when we're not sleeping? Would they say, sure, that happens for most, or would they say that they've never heard of such a thing? Maybe the client knows the answer instinctually, or maybe I have to tell them. Because I know. I ask not only a GP, but psychiatrists and specialist doctors. Having a sleepless night or two is normal and quite common, in fact. Having it too often or multiple nights in a row? No. But once in a while for a night or two, yes, it happens for most. A night with problems falling asleep or maybe very little sleep overall can be due to stress or worrying, as I've spoken about before in another video. But this is not always the reason. And to be a real expert, we should not assume that it's the most likely offender. We should keep our mind open every time and see what's up for the individual in their individual case. If we go wrong in the initial analysis of the problem and guess it to be the most likely cause, we might end up with giving the client wrong and inefficient advice that will harm them more than help them. I usually ask if my client is stressed out or worrying at night time, and they're good at giving me an honest answer, whether it's yes or no. Not being able to sleep, not by the cause of stress or worrying, is a thing, and sometimes I witness it with clients in my clinic. Some of my clients tell me that they're not worrying or stressing, but yet they seem to experience a sleepless night anyhow. As with other clients, the client wants to know why they cannot sleep and if there's something wrong with them. As not being able to sleep sometimes is normal, I tell them so. I let them know that this is part of being human and something to be expected to happen. I'll tell them that I can help them with not suffering when it happens and how to make it not worse, but I do not promise that I can make it go away. As an experienced psychologist, I hold knowledge about what I can and cannot promise to clients in my care. I will sometimes tell them that I don't believe that it's possible to do that or that by the knowledge we hold in psychology by now. That by now we don't know how to do that. This is the truth, as there are still many things about how humans work that are being looked into in science. I speak to my client about having a sleepless night is normal and that sometimes we won't be able to know why. This I do because there's a huge difference in how we deal with something based on whether we perceive it as a problem in our power or a given thing that we just have to accept. One we will fight, another we'll work on accepting and letting be. When I've spoken to the client about maybe accepting that sometimes we cannot sleep and that it's normal, I'll proceed to talk to them about how not to suffer when it happens. I know that stressing and worrying is a huge causation of not being able to sleep, but also it just makes us feel bad. I therefore talk to my client about that. What we should prevent when we cannot sleep is to further help the problem by overanalyzing it, as this will lead to stressing and worrying. And that because stressing and worrying is sure to keep us awake, and it will make the time we spend in our best less enjoyable or maybe painful. I'll talk to my client about what they can do instead when they have a night of not sleeping. This so they feel they have a plan, making them feel more in control and prepared. So they do not have to fear the occurrence of a sleepless night because they know what to do when it happens. Having a plan of what to do when it happens is also aimed at helping prevent them from lying and stressing and worrying. When we're prepared or expect something to happen, we're less likely to get spooked by it. I therefore help the client have a plan or a go-to activity should it happen that they have a sleepless night. Also, when we're doing an activity or keep ourselves preoccupied with something that engages our mind, it's easier to not fall into overthinking or overanalyzing. In this plan for sleepless nights, I'll guide the client to begin with gently reminding themselves that this is normal and then do what we agreed they should do. For example, listen or watch something, or just rest their body and think of something interesting now that they have the time. Sometimes we cannot sleep. That's normal. As said first in the Prayer for Serenity in the early 1900s and by many psychologists since then, the key to not suffering is to accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and have the wisdom to know the difference. I think that applies here. I think this was all we had time for. What was your takeaway from today's video? As always, feel free to take away the information you can use, if any, and leave the rest. Please subscribe or like this video so my channel can grow. Take care and see you for the next one.